Hare Krishna. We'll be continuing the Bhagavatam from Canto 6, the Transcendental Qualities of Vṛtrāsura. Let's have a quick recap. Shri Vṛtrāsura said, "He who has killed a Brahman, he who has killed his spiritual master, indeed he who has killed my brother is now by good fortune standing before me face to face as my enemy. O most abominable one, when I pierce your stone-like heart with my trident, I shall be freed from my debt to my brother." Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripatamham vande Shri Gurum Tintarinam Paramanantamathvam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram Harim Tatsat. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udiriyet nashta prayashva abhidreshu nityam bhagavad sevaya bhagavati uttam shloke bhavatir bhavati naishtiki. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Only for the sake of living in the heavenly planets, you killed my elder brother, a self-realized, sinless, qualified Brahman who had been appointed your chief priest, who was your spiritual master. But although you entrusted him with the performance of your sacrifice, you later mercilessly severed his heads from his body the way one butchers an animal. Indra, you are bereft of all shame, mercy, glory, and good fortune. Deprived of these good qualities by the reactions of your fruitive activities, you are to be condemned even by the man-eaters, that is, the Rakshasas. Now I shall pierce your body with my trident, and after you die, with great pain, even fire will not touch you, only the vultures will eat your body. You are naturally cruel. All the other demigods, unaware of my prowess, follow you by attacking me with raised weapons. I shall sever their heads with this sharp trident. With those heads I shall perform a sacrifice to Bhairav and other leaders of the ghosts along with their hordes. But if in this battle you cut off my head with your thunderbolt and kill my soldiers, O Indra, O great hero, I shall take great pleasure in offering my body to other living entities such as jackals and vultures. I shall thus be relieved of my obligations to the reactions of my karma, and my fortune will be to receive the dust from the lotus feet of great devotees like Narad Muni. Shri Narottam Das Thakur sings, "E Chaya Gosani, Yar Mui Tar Das, Tan Sabar Padarenu, Mor Pancha Gras." So, I am the servant of the 6 Goswamis, and the dust of their lotus feet provides my 5 kinds of food. A Vaishnav always desires the dust of the lotus feet of previous acharyas and Vaishnavas. Vṛtrāsura was certain that he would be killed in the battle with Indra because this was the desire of Lord Vishnu. He was prepared for death because he knew that after his death he was destined to return home back to Godhead. This is a great destination, and it is achieved by the grace of a Vaishnav. Chariya Vaishnav Seva Nistara Paiche Kiba, no one has ever gone back to Godhead without being favored by a Vaishnav. In this verse, therefore, we find the words Manasvinam Padarajah Praptasye. I shall receive the dust of the lotus feet of great devotees. The word Manasvinam refers to great devotees who always think of Krishna. They are always peaceful, thinking of Krishna, and therefore they are called Dhira. The best example of such devotee is Narad Muni. If one receives the dust of the lotus feet of a Manasvi, a great devotee, he certainly returns home back to Godhead. So what one should desire is unalloyed devotion of the Lord, just like Narad Muni. So if you hold on tight to Krishna's feet, Krishna will also hold on tight to us. O king of the demigods, since I, your enemy, am standing before you, why don't you hurl your thunderbolt at me? Although your attack upon me with your club was certainly useless, like a request of money from a miser, the thunderbolt you carry will not be useless. You need have no doubts about this. When King Indra threw his club at Vṛtrāsura, Vṛtrāsura caught it in his left hand and retaliated by using it to strike the head of Indra's elephant. Thus, Indra's attack was a disastrous failure. Indeed, Indra's elephant was injured and thrown back 14 yards. Therefore, even though Indra stood with the thunderbolt to hurl against Vṛtrāsura, he was doubtful, thinking that the thunderbolt might also fail. Vṛtrāsura, however, being a Vaishnava, assured Indra that the thunderbolt would not fail, for Vṛtrāsura knew that it had been prepared in accordance with the instructions of Lord Vishnu. Although Indra had doubts because he could not understand that Lord Vishnu's order never fails, Vṛtrāsura understood Lord Vishnu's purpose. Vṛtrāsura was eager to be killed by a thunderbolt manufactured according to Lord Vishnu's instructions because he was sure that he would thus return home back to Godhead. He was simply waiting for the opportunity of the thunderbolts being released. In effect, therefore, Vṛtrāsura told Indra, if you want to kill me since I am your enemy, take this opportunity, kill me. You will gain victory and I shall go back to Godhead. Your deed will be equally beneficial for both of us. Do it immediately. So wonderful, wonderful realizations coming from Vṛtrāsura. O Indra, king of heaven, the thunderbolt you carry to kill me has been empowered by the prowess of Lord Vishnu and the strength of the deity's austerities. Since you have come here to kill me in accordance with Lord Vishnu's order, there is no doubt that I shall be killed by the release of your thunderbolt. Lord Vishnu has sided with you. Therefore, your victory, opulence, and all good qualities are assured. Vṛtrāsura not only assured King Indra that the thunderbolt was invincible, but also encouraged Indra to use it against him as soon as possible. Vṛtrāsura was eager to die with the stroke of the thunderbolt sent by Lord Vishnu so that he could immediately return home, back to Godhead. By hurling the thunderbolt, Indra would gain victory and enjoy the heavenly planets remaining in the material world for repeated birth and death. Indra wanted to gain victory over Vṛtrāsura and thereby become happy, but that would not at all be happiness. The heavenly planets are just below Brahmalok, but as stated by Supreme Lord Krishna, Abrahma Bhunal Lokaha Punar Avartino Arjuna. Even if one achieves Brahmalok, he must still fall to the lower planetary systems again and again. However, if one goes back to Godhead, he never returns to this material world. By killing Vṛtrāsura, Indra would not actually gain, he would remain in the material world. Vṛtrāsura, however, would go to the spiritual world. Therefore, victory was destined for Vṛtrāsura, not for Indra. So, ultimate victory was therefore Vṛtrāsura. By the force of your thunderbolt, I shall be freed of material bondage and shall give up this body and this world of material desires, fixing my mind upon the lotus feet of Lord Sankarshan. I shall attain the destination of such great sages as Narad Muni, just as Lord Sankarshan has said. The words Aham Samadhaya Manaha indicate that most important duty at the time of death is to concentrate one's mind. If one can fix his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna, Vishnu, Sankarshan, or any Vishnu Murti, his life will be successful. To be killed while fixing his mind at the lotus feet of Sankarshan, Vṛtrāsura asked Indra to release his Vajra or thunderbolt. He was destined to be killed by the thunderbolt given by the Lord Vishnu. There was no question of his being baffled. Therefore, Vṛtrāsura requested Indra to release the thunderbolt immediately, and he prepared himself by fixing his mind at the lotus feet of Krishna. A devotee is always ready to give up his material body, which is described herein as Gramya Pash, the rope of material attachment. The body is not at all good. It is simply a cause of bondage to the material world. Unfortunately, even though the body is destined for destruction, fools and rascals invest all their faith in the body and are never eager to return home back to Godhead. So more and more realizations from Vṛtrāsura are coming in these passages. Persons who fully surrender at the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead and always think of his lotus feet are accepted and recognized by the Lord as his own personal assistants or servants. The Lord never bestows upon such servants the brilliant opulences of the upper, lower, and middle planetary systems of this material world. When one possesses material opulences in any of these three divisions of the universe, his possessions naturally increase his enmity, anxiety, mental agitation, pride, and belligerence. Thus, one goes through such endeavor to increase and maintain his possessions, and he suffers great unhappiness when he loses them. In Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 4, verse 11, the Lord says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajamyaham mam vartamanu vartante manushyaha partha sarvashah. As devotees surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. Both Indra and Vṛtrāsura were certainly devotees of the Lord. Although Indra took instructions from Vishnu to kill Vṛtrāsura, the Lord was actually more favorable to Vṛtrāsura because after being killed by Indra's thunderbolt, Vṛtrāsura would go back to Godhead, whereas the victorious Indra would actually rot in this material world because both of them were devotees. The Lord awarded them the respective benedictions they wanted. Vṛtrāsura never wanted material possessions, for he knew very well the nature of such possessions. To accumulate material possessions, one must labor very hard, and when he gets them, he creates many enemies because this material world is always full of rivalry. If one becomes rich, his friends or relatives are envious. For Ekanta Bhaktas, unalloyed devotees, Krishna therefore never provides the material possessions. A devotee sometimes needs some material possessions for preaching, but the possessions of a preacher are not like those of a karmi. A karmi's possessions are achieved as a result of karma, but those of a devotee are arranged by the Supreme Personality of Godhead just to facilitate his devotional activities. Because a devotee never uses material possessions for any purpose other than the service of the Lord, the possessions of a devotee are not to be compared to that of a karmi. So one should aspire for the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord. Our Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, forbids his devotees to endeavor uselessly for religion, economic development, and sense gratification. O Indra, one can thus infer how kind the Lord is. Such mercy is obtainable only by unalloyed devotees. That is the Ekanta Bhaktas, as we just read a few minutes ago. Such mercy is obtainable only by the unalloyed devotees, not by the persons who aspire for material gains. There are four objectives in human life, namely religiosity, that is dharma, economic development, artha, sense gratification, karma, and liberation, moksha. From the bondage of material existence, people generally aspire for religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification, but a devotee has no other desire than to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, both in this life and in the next. That is, just to do the devotional service to the Lord. The special mercy for the unalloyed devotee is that the Lord saves him from hard labor to achieve the results of religion, economic development, and sense gratification. Of course, if one wants such benefits, the Lord certainly awards them. Indra, for example, although devotee, was not much interested in release from material bondage. Instead, he desired sense gratification and a high standard of material happiness in the heavenly planets. Vṛtrāsura, however, being an unalloyed devotee, aspired only to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord arranged for him to go back to Godhead after his bodily bondage was destroyed by Indra. Vṛtrāsura requested Indra to release his thunderbolt against him as soon as possible so that both he and Indra would benefit according to their proportionate advancement in devotional service. So we can see an unalloyed devotee not only benefits himself, but he benefits his so-called opponents or the rivals in this material world. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, will I again be able to Be a servant of your eternal servants who find shelter only at your lotus feet. O my Lord, O Lord of my life, may I again become their servant so that my mind may always think of your transcendental attributes, my words always glorify those attributes, and my body always engage in the loving service of your lordships. So Vṛtrāsura's realizations are par excellence for any devotee to hear or to try to imbibe them. This verse gives the sum and substance of devotional service. One must first become a servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord, Das. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised, and he also showed by his own example, that a living entity should always desire to be a servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis, Gopi Bharataha Padakamalayur Das. This means that one should accept a spiritual master who comes in the disciplic succession and is a servant of Lord. Under his direction, one must then engage one's three properties, namely his body, mind, and words. The body should be engaged in physical activity under the order of the spiritual master. The mind should think of Krishna incessantly, and one's words should be engaged in preaching the glories of the Lord. So if one is thus engaged in the loving service of the Lord, one's life is successful. So Krishna tells us that he gives us advancement proportionate to our endeavor, and according to our desires, he will create the opportunities, circumstances, and he will send the people around us. So Mahaprabhu, by his example, showed us how to do the devotional service, how to quash the pride, our pride in our life, so we can be good devotees of the Lord. So thank you all for joining. There's so many realizations we've learned from Vṛtrāsura, though in a demon's body, how he is using his present moment within best of his knowledge in the service of Lord. He got the ultimate victory, just like Duryodhana asked for the Narayani Sena, but Arjun, he was happy to have the Lord by his side. Similarly, Vṛtrāsura understands so nicely that to remember Lord's Nirgun form, that Lord is there helping me, and Indra is only there to, like an instrument, to help me go closer to Lord. So he is telling us how to get detached while we are still there, here in this world, and try our best within given opportunities and given circumstances, how we can aspire to do best in our devotional service and aspire to go back to Godhead. Hariam Tatsat, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vṛtrāsura Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.